Oh my god, I'm sorry. My lighting has been driving me absolutely insane ever since I moved to LA because I'm basic. Anyways, today's video is going to be about Barbie and what it meant and feminism and the patriarchy and the deeper meaning to it. And we're going to react to people who are really upset about the movie because it was a political movie that people got really upset about. And I think it's going to be fun to talk about it. So there are spoilers in here, by the way. Of course, there's going to be spoilers. And I want to preface this video by saying this is mainly all my opinion and my interpretation. Pretty confident though that I have a very good perception of what was in the film. Shocker, it made a lot of people mad, such as Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, and other YouTubers. So if you couldn't tell by any of my videos, I'm a pretty feminist guy. I do it for the points, I do it for the ladies. It's just all show, just so you guys will like me. I also want to say the advertisement for this movie, and I'm not understanding why people were very shocked about it, is the fact that this is the poster for it. It says, she's everything, he's just Ken. Anyway, so let's see what Ben Shapiro said about this. He just said a couple of stupid little things. I don't want to focus on him too much because he's washed up, but
put aside all of the beautiful costumes, which is there for the ladies, and all of the production design and the Barbie universe and all of that. Every joke that happens in this film happens basically within the first 45 seconds of the film. So, for example, Barbie turns on the water and there's no water. Ooh, because, you know, like in Barbie house, there's no actual water. Do you get it? And then she drinks, but there's no actual liquid in the actual cup. Oh my God, because she's a Barbie doll. Oh, I get it. Okay, that's all the jokes. There are no more jokes for the rest of the film.
First of all, there are plenty of jokes in the film. If you watch the film, you already know this. It's a stupid talking point. Also, just the demographic is not for you, Ben.
The movie's a show. Okay, so conceptually, the movie is a show. I want to ask this. Who's the intended audience for this film? Who's the intended audience for this film? So I'll tell you who the intended audience for this film is. And I can tell two ways. One, the previews on the film, and two, the people in the audience. So the intended audience for this film is moms and their 8-year-old daughters.
And then you little weirdo with your little weird eyebrows. Ben Shapiro keeps getting more odd looking as time goes by, and I don't know what's happening to him.
The basic sort of premise of the film, politically speaking, is that men and women are on two sides of the divide and they hate each other. And literally the only way you can have a happy world is if the women ignore the men and the men ignore the women. That seems to be the final outcome of this film.
Anyways, this entire 42-minute video is just Ben Shapiro saying that the movie is bad, everything about it is bad, and it's just not funny, and it's political, and the only reason that it's rated well is because of how slyly they pushed in the politics.
The movie's a show. It is a bad film.
It is a bad movie.
Conceptually, the movie is a show. Let's jump into it. I have like pages and pages of notes on this horrific piece of I mean, my goodness.
But Matt Walsh said this.
Last week, we discussed the impending doom of Hollywood. As the media was frantically warning us, the entire entertainment industry was on the verge of collapse, thanks to a writer's strike, an actor's strike, and a series of supposed blockbusters that turned out to be flops. And this was...
I fucking hate the way this guy sits and talks. He sounds like he smoked 5 cigars and there's just phlegm stuck in his throat and he never clears it out. Barbie made me mad because it was all pink and not funny at all. And I'm Matt Walsh, and I look really funny without a beard, so that's why I keep it.
The movie is a smash hit because Barbie, as a brand, is a smash hit. The quality of the film doesn't make a difference. The directing, the acting, the writing, none of that factors into the equation.
Yes, it does. If you watch the movie, it was beautiful. It was beautiful, and the acting was phenomenal.
Okay, it could have just been a movie where you're literally staring at a Barbie doll sitting in the corner. And because it's called Barbie, it would have made $150 million. Mothers and daughters did not file into the theaters over the weekend because they really wanted to see what Greta Gerwig cooked up. Nor did they come because they were big Margot Robbie fans. They came because it's Barbie. It's a brand they like.
Yeah, no, I did come for Margot Robbie. That was the main reason. Who didn't go for Margot Robbie? Also, yeah, people who like Barbie are gonna go see Barbie. That was a part of a lot of girls' childhoods and even boys' childhoods, even transgender people's childhood.
The Barbie movie is a preachy feminist screed about taking down the patriarchy. It is a gender studies lecture in Barbie packaging. And I know this not because I watched the film. I'd rather jump feet first into a wood chipper than sit through that film. I don't need to watch Barbie to know that it's bad, for the same reason that I don't need to pull a rotten onion out of the garbage and eat it in order to know that I won't like the taste.
I think that you can have no say on something if you haven't watched it or read it. But that doesn't even make any sense. That's like me going and saying Iron Man is a piece of shit movie. But I never saw it. But I think it's a piece of shit movie. Okay, Matt Walsh.
I've never thrown myself into a volcano, but I feel that I can safely say that the experience would be unpleasant and probably a little hot.
I like how he compares watching the Barbie movie to jumping into a volcano, because that's how angry feminism makes him.
They didn't title the movie The Adventures of Feminist Barbie. No mentions of patriarchy or male rage either in any of the marketing. It is, again, not in the least bit surprising that these themes dominate the film. Not surprising to us anyway, as people who pay attention and are aware of what's happening in the world and in our culture. But the average Barbie viewer is, on the other hand, oftentimes not so aware. And that's why the sleight of hand trick worked. Dangle a funny and fun and nostalgic and family-friendly Barbie film in front of the audience, and then when you have them in the seat, whack them over the head with the feminist stick.
What the fuck? Whack them in the head with the feminist stick. That's what happened to me.
Now, we know about the aggressive, male-hating feminist bent of this film, thanks in part to some brave souls like Ben Shapiro who actually sat and endured it so they could report on its content. This is a form, I have to say, of journalistic courage, far more impressive than reporters who cover war zones.
Oh my God, I can't do it. We're not taking Matt Walsh this. So we're going to watch this woman's perspective, okay? And I'm going to break down every single thing. And we are going to tell her why she's wrong. Because I'm a man and it's a patriarchy and I was right. So.
And we soon see that this is a matriarchy. So the president is a woman, all of the architects and doctors and everyone in power is a woman or a Barbie, right? However, all of the Kens are kind of just there. So the Kens just hope and pray that Barbie will notice them. They're very irrelevant and stupid, especially the main Ken, who is childlike and naive, much like all the men in this movie. So there's that. Then the jokes start. The theater was packed. There were kids, which I didn't expect. This movie's PG-13, and I don't think children should really go see it, like young kids. I don't think this is an appropriate movie for many reasons.
So she just starts by explaining what the movie is, essentially, whatever we already know, because we've already seen it, okay? Unless you didn't and you just wanted to have it be spoiled.
The most obvious reason being that this is a bunch of feminist, woke propaganda, but also...
God, she doesn't look like she would make this type of... Actually, yes, she does. Yes, she does. The kids... Okay, dude. Like, kids are not gonna... Fucking, I'm sorry, but they're not gonna pick up on it and be like, well, this is about the patriarchy and feminism. They like Barbie. They like Barbie.
It has some dark themes. I mean, Barbie has an existential crisis. She thinks about death. All women are miserable. I don't know why you would take your 10-year-old daughter to see it, right? Like, I don't know why I saw so many 8 to 10-year-old little girls at the theater. I mean, I know why. It's Barbie, but I just don't think that's the best idea. So the jokes start, as I said, and it was very awkward. No one was laughing at the jokes. I didn't find the jokes funny. One example I can think of is when Ken is at the beach, and beach is like his thing, right? And he goes, oh, I'm gonna beach you off to another Ken. Get it? Beach you off. He says this for like 10 times. Like, okay, you said it once. Maybe you can hope you'll get a chuckle from one person in the theater. It just felt like it went on for 10 minutes. He just says it over and over again. One Ken to another. It's like, oh, okay. It's not funny. They just keep saying it. It's like, okay.
I don't know why she's so mad about that. The theater that I was in, I mean, I'm in California, so like, it's full of like fucking libs over here, dude. It's full of fucking those woke ass liberals over here in California, okay? Everyone in the theater was actually laughing, and it was a packed theater. I thought it was funny. It's very hard to make me laugh, so I mean, I'll give that to him. That made Sam Collins laugh. Woo! Can we get an applause? I never laugh. I'm fucking miserable.
After that disaster, they have this dance party, and Barbie suddenly starts thinking about death. It comes out of nowhere. Oh my god, poor Barbie. And now Margot Robbie, Barbie has to go to Weird Barbie, which is played by Kate McKinnon. And Weird Barbie is, her hair is all cut up and she has marker on her face because the child that was playing with Weird Barbie was playing too hard with Weird Barbie. And I actually thought that was clever to include a Weird Barbie because that's how I used to play with most of my Barbies. So I thought that was kind of funny. And Weird Barbie tells her, listen, you have to either pick the high heel and live in ignorance and think that, Barbie has fixed all of the problems in the real world when it comes to gender inequality, or pick the Birkenstock and realize, no, actually all women are miserable because men are evil. And Barbie, of course, picks the Birkenstock.
No, that's not the message of the movie. The message of the movie is not men are evil. I've already said this. The message of the movie is the fact that the patriarchy is harmful and that, life also isn't perfect, just like it is in Barbie world where she thinks it is, and the world doesn't revolve around Barbie in the real world.
She goes to the real world where she is immediately harassed by men. And she goes, I wrote down a line. She says she feels an undertone of violence with how men are viewing her. Ken, on the other hand, loves it. He loves the attention. But because this is the patriarchy, this is the real world, this is terrible for all women. So Barbie is suffering. And she also says she needs to find more feminine energy. So she goes to the construction workers, expecting them to be all women, like in the Barbie world. But alas, it's all men. And they're all catcalling her. To which Barbie replies, oh, but we don't have genitals. Haha. It's funny. It's hilarious. Right. So then they leave.
Was she like mad about that joke? I thought it was funny.
Ken is slowly realizing this is an amazing place because men rule the world here. And the boss that he meets, he says, we still do patriarchy, but we hide it well. Women are so oppressed, blah, 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 over and over and over again. Oh, and it was at this point that the man sitting next to us got up and left, and I thought he went to the bathroom or something, but he just never returned, so I think he had enough at that point of the Barbie movie.
It's actually hilarious to me that people bought the tickets to see the movie, to like hate watch the movie. I mean, hate watching is fun and stuff, but to like buy a ticket to sit there and hate watch it, in my fucking opinion, it wasn't that woke. I thought it showed something that was great and that there's an issue with it. And then at the end of the movie, they have a great message, is that you don't have to be this, and this. You can simply be Ken and love yourself for being Ken. You don't need my validation from Barbie. You don't need validation from the other Kens or the outside world or whatever it is. You can just get that validation from yourself and things you enjoy and that you want to do. And you don't have to listen to societal pressures, aka the patriarchy in this specific circumstance for Ken.
While Barbie goes to try and find the child that's playing with her because that's what's causing all these problems, she finds this girl, Sasha, who she thinks is the girl playing with her. And basically, Sasha is already a modern-day woke feminist who is miserable. Sasha's a tween. She's young. She's angsty. And she says, Barbie, you ruined everything for women, right? She talks about sexualized capitalism and how Barbie set the feminist movement back. And she's just really upset with Barbie. She even calls her a fascist towards the end, which was, great. So Barbie's upset. Barbie's crying. Reality challenged is what Sasha says.
I mean, obviously, like, Sasha was there. Sasha played an important role in the movie as well. They are critiquing Barbie themselves through Sasha, talking about how she's plastic and how she has set out this example for women, that women have to be this specific way, and that's why Sasha doesn't like Barbie. How the fuck do you say that word? A caricature. A caricature. I need to see. I don't even know how to spell it. Caricature. Sasha's caricature. And these are not my own words. I just took this from an article, but I wanted to share it because it talks about Sasha, and it says Sasha lays into Barbie, unleashing a steady stream of insults until she eventually settles on calling Barbie a fascist. Barbie, near tears, protests that she couldn't possibly be a fascist because she doesn't control the railways or the flow of commerce. Barbie walks away crying, hurt to meet people who hate her so fiercely, but her luck turns around when Sasha's mom, Gloria, America Ferrera, helps Barbie, and Sasha comes around. This is such a common phenomenon that's rarely touched upon, so it's refreshing to see Gerwig address it head on. Sasha's reaction to Barbie is an impulsive gut reaction. She's hating this other woman because the patriarchy encourages internalized misogyny. Sasha is unrelenting when she attacks Barbie, but this is a common thing, especially with teenage girls. Another movie with a hyper-feminist monologue, Gone Girl, details thinking midway through the film when Amy Elliott Dunn, Rosamund Pike, goes off about always having to be the cool girl to impress men, changing your skin like a chameleon constantly so that men will think you're chill and fun, and above all, cool. Sasha is falling prey to this exact thing when she goes for Barbie's jugular, thinking that hating something as feminine as Barbie will make her seem cooler. When Sasha realizes just how powerful Barbie is, and how she and the other Barbies have crafted an incredibly successful matriarchy in Barbie land, her perspective changes, and instead of putting Barbie down, she lifts her up and helps quash a Ken-bellion rising in their cotton candy colored utopia. Not only that, but Barbie becomes a human at the end of the movie, and Sasha and Gloria are her support system as she makes her way into the real world and she becomes a human woman. Pitting women against women happens all the time, and shouldn't, and Sasha is swept under the influence of the cool girl, which afflicts teenage girls far too often. When she opens up her mind and realizes all that Barbie has to offer, she's able to put those internalized misogynistic prejudices aside, and it's a perfectly crafted message by Gerwig and for teenage girls still learning to love themselves. I liked what I found here because I couldn't find a way to fucking word it, but whoever wrote this worded it really well. I'll put the source in the description if you want to check it out, but so yeah, let's see what else she has to say.
I don't know if she was being serious, then I have no words, but I'm hoping that that was a joke, right? Poking fun at woke culture. That's what I thought it was. Then we see the business meeting at Mattel, and of course the CEO is a man, and all of the workers, all of the employees are men, which is just horrible. So we have this one guy who says, "Oh, well, I'm a man with no power. Does that make me a woman?" Ha! Yeah. It's so exhausting, the victim mindset.
I thought that was a funny joke, too. I thought that was fucking funny, because it's a joke about the patriarchy. Oh, is it that serious? Like, you're that mad about it? Women couldn't have their own credit cards until, like, what year was it? I think 1970 is when women could actually open their own credit cards under their own names. I have to Google it now, because when could women get credit cards? In 1974. Okay, 1974 is when women could own a credit card in their own name. But no, the patriarchy didn't exist back then. It doesn't exist now or anything like that. Obviously, it's very different now. It still exists, but...
And it's teaching the young girls in this theater that, see, haha, women don't have power in the real world. I'm sorry, those are the cards you've been dealt with. You are doomed to be oppressed forever. Sorry about that. I mean, that's horrible. That's horrible, especially for me, because I know how that feels, being a woke feminist and just thinking you are incredibly oppressed. It's teaching the young girls that women are powerless in the real world.
Not really. I didn't... The whole theme, the whole message of the movie is not that women have fucking zero power. It just shows the damage that the patriarchy does to not only women, but men. Based on anecdotal experiences, I mean, I guess if I looked up statistics, I didn't go that far, but I still think that women are viewed as less than men today in the workforce, just in everyday life and stuff like that. I feel like men are just much more respected, just seen from my own experience and being a man, and how, a stranger will interact with me versus a friend of mine who's a girl, or there's still wage gaps and all of that bullshit. And, there are still positions where men hold more power over women in specific circumstances. I mean, we still haven't had a female president ever. We had our first woman VP right now. Can you not see the pattern? I don't know. I think it's weird when people just think these things don't exist.
And then we have Will Ferrell, who I didn't find any of his jokes funny, but what's new? He is, constantly trying to be funny and telling Barbie she has to go back in the box. And again, showing how all of the men are idiots, because there's this scene where Barbie's like running away from them and she jumps over the door, or the revolving thing that they have to get through to catch Barbie. But they're so silly, they're so stupid, the poor men. Oh, and they don't realize that they can just jump over it. Barbie does. And I understand that this movie is trying to be silly and, funny, whatever, but you cannot deny, for the people claiming that, oh, this is just poking fun at everybody. No, it's obviously portraying men as childlike. They're just all idiots. They're all idiots. And all the women, all of them are competent, beautiful, intelligent, mature, and all of the men are stupid. So
I don't see any issue with glorifying women in a film. And I think it's just a stretch to basically just be like, this is portraying men as stupid and weak and dumb, and they can't hop over the whatever. It was just supposed to be funny. I think it was supposed to be funny. It doesn't have to be that deep. I mean, it could be that deep. Also, if it was that deep, who gives a fuck? You can't say men are stupid and have a laugh about it. At the end of the day, is that affecting the way that men are living their life? No. You're just being a big baby about it.
Sasha said that everybody hates women. Women hate women. Men hate women. Everybody hates women. And I'm just sitting there, I genuinely felt bad for her character, who was obviously sexist, right? Internalized misogyny. And she just hates women, and you can tell how upset she is and how much anger she has. And I feel like it's actually a good representation of modern day feminists. And then some people were...
What? Is she trying to say that modern day feminists hate women? No, there are people, there are women who hate women and men who hate women, obviously. And vice versa, fucking nuanced. There are, pick-me's, as we would say, who just also don't like other women, and they pit themselves against each other, just like men pit themselves against each other as well, which was actually shown in the film when Ken came back with the idea of patriarchy.
Then Sasha and her mom and Barbie returned to the Barbie world, and plot twist, the woman playing with Barbie was actually the mom. So they return. And oh my goodness, Ken got there first and he brainwashed all the Barbies into being slaves. So he has established the patriarchy. But it begs the question, all of the Barbies were so smart. Why were they brainwashed so easily? When the one guy, who was an idiot, by the way, the rest of the movie, he comes and he says, oh guys, actually you should all be my slaves. And they're just like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. What? I thought they were geniuses, and I thought all the Kens were idiots. It doesn't make sense. By the way, they made them genuinely happy to be the servants to the Kens.
No, I fucking love this point because that is not the point of what happened. So yeah, if they're so smart or whatever, how could they be brainwashed? The smartest people ever could be brainwashed. For example, I have been gaslit, manipulated. All of us have been, okay? It doesn't matter if you're fucking Albert Einstein, okay? At the end of the day, people can be manipulated into anything, whatever. My interpretation of this is the Barbies weren't actually happy. They were kind of basically told what they have to do in order to be happy, which does happen. Being put into a lifestyle and pretending that you are happy is something a lot of people do, which I think what was happening in Barbie Land. And so when the Kens came back and they were like, no, like, let's do this and this and this and this is how it should be and stuff, they were living in that false sense of reality that they were happy because the Kens made all the decisions, or the Kens did this and that, and they didn't have to think about a single thing, so they didn't even think about their own mental health, or do I actually enjoy this and stuff like that. And that's how people get trapped, because you think that this is what you want, but it's really not actually what you want. Because when the Barbies come back and they're trying to fight against everything and come back, they snap the brainwashed Barbies out of it like this. So that's simply a message of, no, you are not living the life that you think you enjoy just because you think you enjoy it. And it was very easy to snap them out of it because they were like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, no, this is kind of fucked up and I actually don't enjoy that. And also, the Kens did not enjoy the patriarchy. And I'll get into that in a second because I think that she probably talks about that as well.
So Barbie's having another mental breakdown and she's crying and she's saying, oh, you know, you either have to be considered weird because you're a feminist baddie, or you're brainwashed because you think that women now have rights and can, you know, be happy. No, so you're either brainwashed or you're weird. There's no in between, she says. And then the mom starts her speech very abruptly too, like everything stops and she just starts a speech about feminism, about how, oh, you have to be thin but not too thin. All of the Barbies are like, yeah, you go girl, that's how it is, that's the struggle. Oh yeah, she says it is literally impossible to be a woman.
Okay, I want to talk about this speech because this was my favorite part of the film and people apparently found it really cringe. She's trying to explain to the Barbies what it's like to live in a human world and how it's being shown in here. And it's not a perfect world in the real world, especially for women. And this has so many nuances, obviously, too. Like, there are parts of living life for men as well that are very hard. But a majority of that is because of the patriarchy itself, which is why feminists are not anti-men. They just want rights for women, they want to fight for women, and they don't like the patriarchy for the time.
So then the Barbies come up with this master plan to play dumb and get the men to fall for their trap, because apparently all men love a damsel in distress and also stupid women, so they're going to pretend to be stupid. Although, by that same logic, men would love the modern day feminist, but I don't think anybody can stand to be around them for more than a second because they're just exhausting.
And I'm going to speak for myself here, but perhaps maybe some other men. I love a damsel in distress. I absolutely love that. I think a lot of guys do. But I also have a savior complex. But it's also at the same time, I do think men could have a savior complex as well. This isn't a statistic. I'm just speaking from my own thing, just because, you know, you're taught to lead and you're taught to take care of the family. But women are also taught that too, but in a different manner. Men have to hold the family together. So that might be where, like, the damsel in distress thing comes into play. You know what I'm saying?
But anyways, that's their plan, and they also say, oh yeah, we're gonna play on their petty jealousy is what they say. And I'm just wondering, yeah, okay, women don't get jealous, right? It's just the men that get jealous. Sure. So that's what they do, and of course it works.
That's not what that was depicting at all. So she's talking about the ukulele scene, or sorry, the guitar scene, where Ken actually says, can I play guitar at you? At you, not for you. That wording was very specific for a specific reason. And the men, the representation of the men getting jealous of each other is to show the patriarchy. God damn, dude. Can you, it's too late in the video now. Take a shot every time I said patriarchy. Just rewind it. You'll be blacked out on the floor. Maybe take a shot of water so you can be hydrated for once in your life. The guitar scene was actually a symbol of how all the men are competing with each other. Because of why? The patriarchy. because it pits men against each other, because everyone wants to be the alpha, everyone wants to be better. The Kens were not happier being in that situation, because prior to that, they were all good, they were all friends, they all liked each other. They liked Barbie, and they liked each other. The Kens were completely distraught the entire time after the original Ken came back and pushed this whole patriarchy thing on them, because they didn't even enjoy it. They just thought that's what was right and that's what they should be doing. And that's when the Barbies start switching off and making them angry and making them fight, because they want them to be distracted so that the Barbies can then go take over everything else again to make the Barbie world back to how it was.
And now, and then the Kens, like, they fight with the other Kens, and then at the end, Barbie actually sits with Ken and has a conversation, and she says, you know what, Ken, I kind of get your point, you feel left out, not every night has to be girls' night. So then I'm wondering, maybe we'll get them talking about how the matriarchy isn't perfect either.
So she obviously says a lot more than that, and she understands Ken's point of view, and when she's talking to him, she's sending him a message that, your worth isn't based off of what I think of you, or essentially what anybody else thinks of you. Ken learns that his worth isn't based off of what Barbie, women, or other people think of him. It's literally based off of what he wants to do and what he enjoys doing, which again stems from the patriarchy itself and how it affects men in this way. And now that he learns life doesn't have to be that way, he breaks free from those chains of expectations and can simply just be Ken. And also, I wanted to mention in the film that when Ken talks about the patriarchy, he's like, sorry, I just thought it was about like horses and shit. So he was just trying to be a cool dude. He didn't really fully understand what the patriarchy was, but he was living by it, which is what a lot of people do by accident, because they don't even know, because sometimes it's just like, like drilled into your head. You don't know what you're doing. Sometimes that happens to a lot of people with everything.
And Barbie decides to go into the real world. She picks the Birkenstock, but that doesn't mean she can be a girl boss yet. She has to change everything about her, because she can't be feminine and still be a girl boss. She, changes her outfit. No more pink, no more glamour. So now I guess she's girl boss Barbie. So she has to change everything about herself to be successful. Good message again. And that's the end of the movie. I thought it was a waste of time, a waste of money.
Well, she was living her perfect world. She wanted to go live in the real world and see how that would be, and just not live in her perfect, Barbie fantasy world where everything is just perfect and simply an idea created by somebody else. All right, so I wanted to show you this TikTok actually really quickly. So
hot take, the Barbie movie was pretty awful. Like, so bad, I took notes to try to prepare for this review, and I can't organize my thoughts. You know how they say there's like an agenda? The agenda of this movie is division. So if you value diversity, equity, inclusion, or belonging, this is a terrible movie. Marketing, 10 out of 10. Hair, makeup, set production, 10 out of 10. Very aesthetically pleasing movie. I would never, I'm not a mom, I would never bring my daughter, and especially not my son, to this movie. It has never been a better time in the history of human existence to be a woman than today.
Why do you think that is? Why today is it better to be a woman than it was back in 1910? Because society progresses and women have gotten more rights as time progresses, and as more time progresses, guess what? More great things are going to happen for women. But that doesn't mean that the patriarchy doesn't exist and that women are still not oppressed.
That the female experience in the movie was portrayed is so not present day. It is set back. It's almost like it was a commentary on Barbie when Barbie was created. One of the plot lines is that women run the world in Barbie land, and Ken is like an accessory to Barbie, right? There's Barbie and Ken. That's a plot line.
That is also the entire brand of Barbie.
You would also think that Barbie loves Ken, right? Because they're romantic partners. No, Margot Robbie is annoyed with Ryan Gosling the entire movie. So Barbie and Ken go into the real world. Ryan Gosling discovers the patriarchy and how men are so amazing, and he's respected and not just an accessory. So he takes the patriarchy back into Barbie land and overturns somehow immediately all of these smart, amazing women that run everything. He turns all of them over.
I think it's funny that many people mention this, how the smart women are turned into whatever. That's because of like societal pressures. And because maybe perhaps that some women and girls are taught that this is how life is, and vice versa for boys. That might have something to do with it.
Then this is just one plot line. Then the women take it back, and instead of coming together and working together, like gender parity, and instead of all women on the Supreme Court with a president, and then the men take it over and it's all men, like coming together, the men literally get overturned, and then they ask like, oh, can I also be on the Supreme Court? And the response is literally, no, you need to work in a lower circuit court so that you can start working at the same level as women working in the real world. Also, the board.
That's the joke. That's the joke about patriarchy. Fucking, I can't. I need a patriarchy word counter. I've said it so many fucking times. That's the joke. That was the joke. Are you good?
So the board of Mattel is portrayed as all men. No, it's not. No, it's not. There are 6 men and 5 women that sit on the board of Mattel. How do I know that? 1, you can look it up. But 2, the chief people officer at Mattel used to have my job where I work. And we have the same name, Amy. So it's just inaccurate.
Also, 6 men and 5 women. I don't know the stats of that. I don't know if I fucking feel like looking it up. But also, there's something called satire. Also, it's a play on patriarchy. Okay, goddamn. How typically men are usually CEOs. How typically men are running a company. Because of why? I'm not fucking saying it again.
And every single man in this film, every single one except 1 or 2, are portrayed as annoying, incompetent. There's so many, there was a whole scene, like more than a handful of jokes about literally men jacking each other off. I'm not kidding. This is not a movie for children. This is not a women empowerment movie. This is a women are amazing and men are not great. Why do we have to put someone down in order to lift someone up?
Disagree. I don't think they were portrayed as annoying and incompetent. I just think it was all about Barbie because that's what the brand is all about. And he's just Ken. Of course they were annoying when they came back and they started trying to run shit and pretended that they were smart and they knew everything and mansplained everything and all that and had toxic masculinity and then the damsel in distress thing. Of course. Because that's a portrayal of the modern day society today and shit that happens today.
There's this whole plot line about how hard and impossible it is to be a woman. Yes, it is so exceptionally difficult. But the solve for that is kicking men out and like what women went through, have to go through. What in the world?
This girl's missing the entire point. That wasn't the point of that monologue where she talks about women and how you can't be too thin or whatever, etc., etc. The point is that like when you're a woman, whatever you do, you have to do it a specific way or it's the wrong way. If you don't do it this way, it's the wrong way. You can complain, but don't complain too much because then you're a bitch. And that's just how it is. And I think that is how women exist today. That's why so many women feel like shit about themselves and stuff like that. And especially young kids having TikTok. Women are taught to have these standards to appeal to men. And it makes them insecure. I don't know. I think Barbie did a great job, dude.
The whole reason we can do what we can do is because we got together, campaigned and organized and lobbied to have equal rights. And guess what? Governing bodies of men approved what women campaigned for back in the day.
Women having to fight for the right to have a fucking credit card or to vote seems like an issue. They had to continuously fight just like gay people, just like LGBT people have to, just like different races had to, different ethnicities had to. You have to continuously ask and fight and fight and fight and fight until you get what you want, until you're finally approved. Also, those men shouldn't be praised for approving someone approving their asking for equal rights. Shouldn't give anybody extra brownie points. That's a basic human decency thing that people should do.
I also fight for ordinary Barbie to be made. What? And in the end, Ken and Barbie aren't together. Barbie's like, you need to be okay without me? Huh? I don't like it.
Obviously, she doesn't understand the message that Barbie was giving at the end, where she's like, we don't have to be together for you to be happy. You don't have to live to these standards set by patriarchy to be happy. I mean, I guess I don't really have much else to say. Guess I've said everything. This is a long ass video. I've been filming forever, but I enjoyed the film. If you haven't seen it, you can go see it, even though I spoiled the shit out of it for you. But I think it's a great message, and it just shows how, the patriarchy tears down both genders, pits guys against each other. It puts expectations on them that they shouldn't have, and then it also harms women in the process. It's just not good, and that's all they were trying to show. I do personally think I'm treated differently as a man in society than women typically would be. And girls talk about this all the time, if I'm hanging out with them or whatever, how they're always scared of walking down the street or going out alone or doing this alone or, being somewhere without a man because they might get attacked or whatever else it is, SA'd or kidnapped or fucking trafficked or something like that. Like sometimes you can't even go out alone or with girls as a woman without being paranoid. And that's why women have fucking pepper spray. And that is something that I never ever think about. I never think about that when I go out. Like I said, generally, I just don't think about that. When I talk to women and they tell me these stories and how they think about their every actions and their interactions with men and how they, specifically interact with men because of how scared they are of what might happen to them, to me is like absolutely insane and terrifying. It would be scary. It would still be scary to live in society today as a woman, just even simply by that alone. Yeah, so that's everything I have to say on the movie. So I really did enjoy it. Sorry for the feminist rant if that's not up your alley, but my LARPing as a feminist is now over. So I'm gonna go drink some beers with the boys and go to the club and harass women now. That's what I'm gonna go do now. So yeah, peace out, dudes.